we were started there talking a little bit about what's left to do before you move into the house. So what are all the little untied ends that need to get put together?
Well, one of the things which, of course, many people don't really understand is that we're not just planning this season, but we're planning this season, the next season, and the season after that. Because our planning cycles are 3 years in advance. So there are all kinds of immediate and long-term things that one has to prioritize. But right now, knocking on wood, we're all set for the first year. We have everything contracted. We have all of the artists that are supposed to appear in the first season have been under contract for several years. And there's always the possibility of last-minute cancellations. People get ill, things happen. But barring that, no, everything's been planned and under control. So right now we're really focused on things beyond the first year. It'll be interesting to see how much of the first year remains exactly as it is. We had a season years ago where not one production opened with the original cast that we had announced. We have had changes of directors, changes of designers, changes of conductors, changes of singing. And one has to just be flexible and ready to roll with the punches. It's challenging sometimes because you don't have a lot of time, and particularly when you've spent 3 or 4 years planning a particular project and you see it in one way. You don't want to sacrifice or jeopardize or in any way alter this because that's how you see it or hear it in your head, and then suddenly to have someone become ill or a personal crisis of one sort or another. We've actually had singers die before their contracts were to be fulfilled, and you have to scurry around. And years ago, Terence McEwen, who was the general director of the San Francisco Opera, and I were talking, and he wisely said, just remember, it's all about compromise. All you can ever hope to do is make the best possible choices when you have to compromise. But you never get everything the way you originally planned it.
When are the productions going to be able to get in the building to start learning how it works from a stage end and from a spatial side?
As soon as we get occupancy from the city of Dallas. We plan to move into the theater the last week of September. So we have a month, more or less. Our opening production, Otello, is a new production, so we're going to use that as the guinea pig, and we're going to make sure that everything that we need to do works, all of the stage equipment works. There are lighting instruments and controls and all of that, which is all brand new. And with the best will in the world, there are always bugs. There are always things that didn't quite work the way you had envisioned, and you have to figure out, A, how they're supposed to work, and B, if that doesn't, what the alternatives are to find your way around. It's like working on a computer on a much grander scale, that if you can't get to a particular application one way, you sit there until you can figure out another way to get to, make the computer do what you want it to do.
When Jack Hagee was in town a few months ago, he mentioned that he had been asked to compose Moby Dick as the first opera. He said, "There's no way I'm going to do."
Actually, that's a bit of an exaggeration. We did not ask him to write it to open the building because we were also very well aware that with a new building there are so many possible complications that to make it work, that it made much more sense to open with something that was a little more standard. Granted, it's a new production, but it's still a work that you know exactly how it's going to play once it gets onto the stage. Where with a new piece, there are always last-minute changes and rewrites and things that are cut, things that may be added, and you don't want that pressure on top of everything else.
So for the new production of Otello, I mean, was the fact that this was going to be in a new space something that came into consideration in terms of maybe the ambition of aspects of it, things
absolutely.
like that?
There were a number of reasons why we chose Otello. It's what one could call a piece for a grand occasion. It's a big piece with a large chorus and a lot of onstage players, orchestral players, as well as the players in the pit. There's the opportunity for a lot of spectacle because of the scale of the piece, and we felt that it was the appropriate kind of piece. It, of course, was also did not go unnoticed that it was a favorite opera of William Winspear, whose money began the whole process of building the Opera House, and in whose name the building has been titled. And so the fact that, and this was one of those accidents of fate that one just rolls one's eyes and says, how did that possibly happen? But when we were originally laying this out, it seemed quite clear that we wanted the opera to open on a Friday night because that's our usual schedule, and it was going to be toward the end of October, so we chose the date October 23rd. What we didn't realize at the moment that we chose the date was that that would have been Bill Winspear's 75th birthday.
Right.
And so once it suddenly dawned on me that that was Bill's birthday, then there was no way, come hell or high water, the Opera House was going to open on the 23rd of October, whether the building was ready or not. And that Otello was a favorite opera of his. It just made it all seem obvious.